Everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to yet another reading vlog. I am on a roll right now with filming vlogs. This is just what I'm in the mood to film for this channel at the moment, and I've just been having a good time reading some good books, documenting my experience with you guys. If you missed last week's vlog, I will have that linked up in the cards above. That was my Summerween vlog. I was reading some thrillers, some horror novels, as well as romance, because I can never truly give up romance, you know? So yeah, I'm really excited to start this new vlog. I am already loving a book that I am currently reading, and as you guys saw from the B-roll, I went to Barnes & Noble for actually like the first time in forever. Like, it's been a really long time since I've actually gone to a bookstore and shopped for books. So I had a fun time there today. I also had an audition that went really well. I think we're supposed to hear tomorrow if we got cast. So I'll definitely keep you updated. Hopefully I get some good news soon, because I've been auditioning for a lot of things recently and getting rejected. So hopefully this is not a rejection this time. But in terms of what I am currently reading, last night I picked up Happy Place by Emily Henry. So I have a bit of an odd journey with Emily Henry. I read Beach Read when it came out in 2020, and it was fine. I gave that like 3, maybe 3.5 stars, something like that. I didn't absolutely love it, and so ever since then, I've just been holding off on reading anything by Emily Henry. I just got this idea in my mind that she, I don't know, is just like a very basic chick lit author. Not that there's anything wrong with basic chick lit, but I don't know. I just got an idea into my head that like she wasn't the author for me, and so I haven't read anything from her since. Until this little book right here. So I've been hearing so many people that I follow, including authors that I follow, rave about this book. I remember in particular Sophie Lark was raving and raving about this book as one of her favorite books that she read in 2023. And the vibe just sounded so perfect for what I'm in the mood for at the moment. I definitely am in the mood for like something emotional, something centering on friends, with some romance going on as well, and that's definitely what this book is. First of all, I cannot recommend this book highly enough already, even though I'm only like 100 pages in. I cannot recommend this book highly enough as like the perfect beach read and like the perfect summery read. I mean, as you can tell, there's definitely a summer vibe going on, but this is centering on our main character, Harriet. She is pictured here, and she is a part of this friend group. We have Cleo, Parth, Kimmy, and Sabrina, and then we have Wynn here. So this book time jumps quite a bit from the time that all of these people became friends to present day, when it's about 10 years later. And every year they all make an annual trip to Sabrina's family's cabin. But this year it sounds like it's gonna be the last trip that they're gonna take to this cabin, because her father is selling it. And so it's definitely going to be a very bittersweet trip. Also, we've got some drama going on because Wynn and Harriet were engaged, but they recently broke up. Actually, Wynn broke up with Harriet over the phone, I guess a few months back. But now they feel really awkward. They feel like they can't tell their friends that they've broken up, because this is like their one last hurrah at this family cabin, and like Sabrina and Parth are getting married. at the end of the week. And so yeah, they just feel awkward about like breaking that news to everyone. So yeah, I am loving this so far. Oh my God. I feel like this book is a love letter to people who are like in their late 20s into their 30s who made really close friendships in college and are still trying to keep those friendships going, you know, 10 plus years later. I definitely relate to that so much, because literally my two best friends in the whole world, we became best friends our freshman year of college. And you know, it's about 10 years later since, no, more than 10 years later, because we were 18 and we're 31 now. You know, and it's definitely not as easy for us to get together. One of my friends now lives in New York, so I only see her when I'm in New York, and you know, so yeah, like I definitely relate to that. I love the idea of like this annual trip that they take, and like you can just feel the love between these friends, and like the vibe is just there. And I'm also really enjoying this angsty dynamic we have going on between Harriet and Wynne. Very interested to see where that like second chancey romance goes in this. And I have heard many people say that this book made them cry towards the end, so I'm here for that. I am here for when a book makes me cry. Loving this so far. So glad that I have chosen to give Emily Henry a second chance. The audiobook is really great, by the way, because my queen, one of my favorite narrators, Julia Whalen, narrates this audiobook, and she's fantastic. So let us get to the book haul. Like I said, I went to Barnes & Noble, and I've got quite a few books to show you guys. First two books I have are actually children's books. They're, you know, like baby books, because they're like board books. So my childhood best friend had her daughter a year ago. Tomorrow is Aurora's first birthday party, and I am very excited to be able to go tomorrow, because I have yet to meet Aurora. We were going to have a get together around Christmas time, but I ended up getting sick, and so I couldn't meet her daughter. And so I'm very excited about that. So I had to get her a couple of books. The first one I got is Moo Ba La 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 by Sandra Boynton. This, when I tell you, this was like my book. This was like our family's book when I was a baby. And by the way, I'm the youngest of 4 children. But like, this is just an iconic board book. And I asked my friend, I was like, does Aurora already have this book? And she was like, no. And I was like, what? Like, I consider this to be the classic board books. And then I also had to get Fiona the Hippo by Richard Cowdery, because I have like always been a sucker for Fiona the Hippo. If you didn't know, this is a hippo who was born in the Cincinnati Zoo. And my dog Chloe, to me, like, she looks like a hippo. I think that pit bulls look like hippos, like their face and their head. So I see this picture and I think of Chloe. So like, I had to get this book for Aurora as well. So there's my reasoning there. Super adorable. I'll just show you guys the artwork real quick. Like, look at her. Look at Fiona. Fiona really does remind me of Chloe. That is so funny. Okay, so there's that. And then I, of course, had to get some books for myself. So I did pick up a copy of Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Marer. This is the second book in the Assistant to the Villain series. I guess that's what the series is called. This does have purple sprayed edges, which matches well with book 1, because book 1 had a purple cover with red edges. So now we've got the opposite with this one. I did enjoy book 1. I didn't absolutely love it, but I saw this cover in Barnes & Noble today and I was sucked in. I love the covers for this series. And look at little Kingsley, the little frog with his little crown. So anyways, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing how this series continues. I hope I enjoy this one more than book 1. I did pick up a copy of Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So it's got like this beautiful, like shiny, almost like holographic cover. I read this either in July, I think in July, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I am a sucker for Ali Hazelwood. I am like her biggest fan. Pretty much everything I've read by her, I've given 5 stars, and I feel like she tops herself with each new release. Like, this is definitely one of my top favorite books of hers that I've read. This one has definitely a darker tone, I would say. Not as much of a rom-com as like something like The Love Hypothesis is. This was amazing, and like when it comes to Ali Hazelwood, I have to own copies of her books. So good. And then because, last but not least, because I am now on the Emily Henry train, I am a part of the fan club, I did have to go ahead and pick up copies of 2 more of her books. These 2 books I've just heard nothing but really great things about, and the plots sound really good to me. So I did pick up People We Meet on Vacation. I love her covers too. The bright colors, I'm here for it. There's the spine in the back. This one, from what I understand, is the most like romancy of her books. Like, most of her books are definitely more like fiction with romantic plots, but this one sounds like it is a romance novel. I did pick up a copy of Funny Story, which is her most recent release. First of all, like, the spine, I'm obsessed. Look at those little lemons, they're so cute. I'm really excited about this one. I've heard amazing things about this. I think this is fake dating. It's a funny story. Daphne always loved the way her fiance Peter told their story. He was really good at telling it right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend Petra, which is how Daphne begins her new story. And proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament, Petra's ex, Miles Novak. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Exes getting together. So I just stopped filming my update, and as you can see, the lighting is different now. But I just realized on the inside of Not in Love, there is a step back of Eli and Rue. Like, are you kidding me? That is stunning. Are step backs coming back? Because yes, please. I am here for that. Guys, I just finished Happy Place by Emily Henry like 5 minutes ago. And if you cannot tell by the way that I am hugging this book to my chest, I loved this so much. Oh, it was so good. It was so beautiful. Oh my God. Just like a beautiful story about friendship. And I feel like books that are written about friendship are written about like children or teenagers. Like, I don't know. I feel like we don't get many books like this that, like, yes, this book at its core is centering on the romance between Harriet and Wynne, but like also at its core, this is a book about friendship in your like late 20s into your 30s and beyond, and like the work that it takes to maintain that kind of friendship. And like, I just felt like so seen by that, and like I loved that so much. This is also a second chance, angsty second chance romance between Wynne and Harriet, and I also really enjoyed that as well. You could really feel the love between these two characters, but you also come to understand why things didn't work out between them the first time they were together, and what changes to make a happily ever after possible by the end. And like, this was just great. It was so good. There was even a scene towards the end where like Wynne and Harriet finally like really confront what broke them up in the first place and things like that. And the scene low-key gave me vibes of that scene in The Notebook when Allie and Noah go out in the boat, and then they come back and it's like pouring raining, and she's like, why didn't you write me? And then right before he kisses her, he's like, it still isn't over. And like, yeah, that scene definitely was giving me vibes of that scene in the Notebook, and that was everything. Yeah, this was just great. I have like no notes, no thoughts. Like I feel like this book put me in a happy place, put me in my happy place. But I'm so glad that I gave this author a second chance. This book was amazing, and like honestly, I could see this being one of my top favorite books of 2024. I have an announcement to make. I'm so excited about this. I just heard the other day that I have been cast in the role of Crystal in Little Shop of Horrors at a local theater. And I'm so excited because I have not had like a major singing role in a musical since I was in high school. Like literally since I was 18. Everything I've done since then has either been opera or like I played the stepmother in a production of Cinderella a few years back, but that is not a singing role. She literally sings like 2 lines and that's it. And then last year I was in Steel Magnolias, my first straight play ever, which that was amazing, but obviously I didn't sing in that because it's a play. So like I am so excited to be singing this music. This is just such a fun show, but also like pretty morbid and scary. Speaking of horror things, I am also reading a book called Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. What's interesting about this author is that like all of his books have very low ratings on Goodreads. It sounds like his writing doesn't work for a lot of people. Like literally this book I'm pretty sure has like a 3.4 or 3.3 average rating on Goodreads, which is really not good. Yeah, like if your book doesn't have at least like a 3.7 or a 3.8 average rating, like clearly a lot of people don't like your book. So I was like a little hesitant going into this because of that, and I had heard some similar things about his writing in his other books. However, the plot just sounded so fucking good that I just could not resist. And I'm still definitely on kind of a horror kick, and this just sounded like my vibe, and it really is. I'm really liking this so far. I think just about 30% into this. The audiobook's really short. It's like 7 hours. I do want to point out that one of the things that I'm loving about this is that the audiobook has a full cast of narrators for all of the characters. I always love when audiobook producers go that extra mile and have multiple people reading the story, especially when it's from multiple POVs or something like that. So the premise of this, we have a main character that, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't know the main character's name. That's interesting. That's giving like Mrs. De Winter vibes from Rebecca. That's interesting. But when he was a teenager, or maybe in his early 20s, he was a part of this horror film called Horror Movie. There was no other title for it. This was in the early 90s, and it was like an independent film. Cleo, who wrote the film, and then Valentina, who was her friend, like they persuaded our main character to be a part of it, to play a major role in it, though it was a non-speaking role, but it was a major role. And so something happened during the filming of this movie, and the movie never got released except for like, from what I understand, like maybe short scenes were put onto YouTube like years and years later in like 2008. And now a film company, a much larger film company, is doing a reboot of this film that never actually got released. And they want our main character to be a part of it. And this is just so cool because we're getting chapters in our main character's POV. Then when he was filming the original film in the early 90s, and then now when this whole reboot process is happening. And then we also get sections where we're reading the original screenplay, and that's where the multiple narrators come in because they're all reading for the different characters. And it's such a cool reading experience, but also like very eerie, kind of confusing, but not in a frustrating way, just confusing in that like you're gonna want to just try to figure out what's going on, and there's definitely a very big mysterious component to this story as well. And I love mystery combined with horror. And I'm just very interested to see, like, is this book going to be just psychological? Are there going to be paranormal or supernatural elements involved? Like, did paranormal things happen during this production and that's why it derailed? Like, that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing as I read more of the story. And then in terms of what I'm gonna read next, I'm thinking Wisteria by Adeline Grace is on the near horizon because my loan for the audiobook just came in from my Libby app. And if you don't know, this is the third book in the Belladonna series, the third and final book. And yeah, I'm very excited to read this. So I'll get more into the plot once I pick this up. I'm working late cause I'm a singer. I look so cute, red from my face. All right, hey guys, it's been a few days since my last update. I'm actually just gonna take these glasses off because they glare a lot and I don't feel like going over there to get my other glasses that don't glare. But anyways, I have 2 books to give you guys updates on. I just finished, like, probably 10 minutes ago, a horror movie by Paul Tremblay, and this was good. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I would just give it a really solid 4 stars, simply because for me, there were sections in the second half of the book where I just wasn't quite as engaged and invested in the story as I was in the first half. I felt like in the first half, I just loved my reading experience of, like, trying to figure out these mysteries. Because I feel like there are multiple mysteries going on in this book. The main one being figuring out, like, how is this movie cursed? Is it cursed? And why did it never get formally released? What happened during the filming process that derailed everything? And there's other things going on as well, but I definitely think that overall you should go into this pretty blind. Look up content warnings at the end of the day. This is a horror novel. I will say that there is quite a bit of body horror, definitely some gore. The film that they are making is, it was a slasher film, so be aware of that. I will say, I feel like the best way to read this book is by both listening to the audiobook and following along with either a physical or ebook copy, because there's kind of a multimedia aspect to it. You get to read and listen to aspects of the original screenplay, and it really feels like you are there while this movie is being filmed. I really liked the ending. The ending actually might be my favorite part of the book. As much as I have been going on about the first half in general, that ending was good. For me, it was unexpected. I've read other reviews where people kind of expected the story to go the way that it did. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I feel like it was a really good horror story about what makes a monster. So moving on to a completely different book that I'm also reading at the same time, I started Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. So this is her follow-up to, oh shoot, I can't remember what that first book was called, but it was a really pretty, like, purpley green cover. Shoot. So we have Gwen. She is a violinist in this Pops orchestra. We have Xander, who became famous. I mean, he was a child prodigy playing violin, but then he moved on to playing cello, and he became, like, super famous because he's a part of, like, almost like a rock band, but they play classical instruments, like string instruments, things like that. And so he's, like, very famous, but for the past year, he's been working with this Pops orchestra. And so at the beginning of the book, the two of them meet at a wedding gig that Gwen is playing, and Xander is in the wedding party. And then a little bit further into the book. I'm only like 27% of the way through, so I promise I'm not spoiling anything, but a little bit further into the book, we see that Gwen becomes first chair of the violin section in this orchestra. She becomes the concertmaster, which is a huge responsibility, a huge honor, but she's so young. So like that's unheard of for someone as young and inexperienced as her to get that job. And then Xander kind of gets kicked out of this orchestra, and there's a lot going on with that. I'm not gonna get into all that. You definitely should just pick this book up if it sounds interesting to you. But things are going on from there, and I am really, really enjoying this. I feel like Julie Soto either has had experience playing or performing classical music, or she just did a ton of research while writing this novel, because to me it feels like she knows what she's writing about. I feel like I've read a lot of romance novels where one of the characters is a musician and you can tell that the author only did that so the book would have some kind of gimmick and they don't really know what they're writing about, but like you can tell that this author at least like really enjoys classical music or understands it because she did research or something like that. And as a musician myself, I really, really appreciate that. I went to college, both my bachelor's and master's degree is focused on classical music, specifically classical singing and opera singing, but I also studied classical instrumental music. So I just really appreciate that she knows what she's writing about, and like I can just like feel the love of music in this book, you know? And yeah, I'm just loving the vibe between these two characters, because Xander is coming off very like grumpy and broody, but also like snobby towards Gwen. But we're seeing that it's not that he's snobby towards her. There's definitely something else going on there. And so yeah, I am loving this so much that I am tempted to go back to Barnes & Noble tomorrow and get myself a physical copy of this, because that's how amazing this is. So yeah, I'm hoping that I keep loving it, because I'm definitely getting that 5-star feeling. And yeah, with that being said, I'll update you guys maybe tomorrow, I don't know, whenever I finish this book and start something else. Alright, hey guys, it is the next day, and I did in fact go back to Barnes & Noble, as you saw from that short little B-roll clip, and I bought 4 books that I am very excited about. And you know, sometimes you just need some retail therapy, and sometimes you need to go to Barnes & Noble twice in 1 week for said retail therapy. So I did in fact grab a copy of Not Another Love Song. I just finished this book. Rave review incoming, get ready for that. And then I also got a copy of the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. I am a huge fan of Abby Jimenez at this point. I've read 3 of her books, gave all 3 of them 5 stars. I am obsessed. So we have another contemporary romance centering around music, and the hero is a musician on tour. So kind of like Another Love Song, but I'm sure very different, and there's a dog involved. So like, of course I'm sold. Okay, this next book I am so excited about. I have not heard anything about this, and I think this just came out this past week. This is Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. I think this is ultimately adult fantasy romance. I don't think this is YA, though I have read from this author before because she co-wrote some novellas in the Shadowhunter Chronicles universe with Cassandra Clare. But yeah, I think this is adult fantasy romance. A tale for anyone who's ever fallen for the villain, and you know that that hooked me right away. Plus this cover is stunning. This artwork, obsessed. And this title, the font and everything, gives me vibes of like the movie poster and the marketing that they did for the Marie Antoinette movie starring Kristen Dunst back in the day, back in like, I don't know, was that 2007-ish, something like that? But that's like the vibe that I'm kind of getting from this cover. And Lee Bardugo says it's audacious and supremely satisfying. Brilliant, says Holly Black, and it's Barnes & Noble's monthly pick. So I'm gonna read a little bit of the synopsis. As her whole life collapses, Ray still has books. Dying, she seizes a second chance at living, a magical bargain that lets her enter the world of her favorite fantasy series. She wakes in a castle on the edge of a hellish chasm, home to the once and forever Emperor, her favorite fictional character. He's impossibly alluring as only fiction can be. However, in this fantasy world, she discovers that she's not the heroine, but the villainess in the Emperor's tale. Time to assemble a rogues gallery of villains and hatch an evil plot. That sounds amazing. Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm so excited for this. And then last but not least, I got The Catch by Amy Lee. First of all, look at this cover. It is so, so, so cute. So I have seen this book recommended numerous times for people that have enjoyed It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. That is my personal favorite Tessa Bailey book. So I was like, hell yes. And reading the synopsis, I definitely see where people are getting that idea. There are some similar vibes going on. We have an influencer is our heroine. She gets stuck in this small Canadian fishing village, and we have our hero who is a grumpy fisherman. Arguably my favorite book that I have read so far in 2024. Arguably my favorite romance that I have read so far in 2024. The only other book that I would say, or the only other romance that I would say is neck and neck with this one, with this couple, is Alessandro and Catalina from the Hidden Legacy series. Specifically, their trio starts with Sapphire Flames and then goes into Emerald Blaze and Ruby Fever. I have a vlog from a few months back where I read Emerald Blaze and like would not shut up about it. So I'll link that up in the cards above if you want to hear more of my thoughts on like that series and that couple. But oh my God, Gwen and Alex and this like are truly neck and neck for my favorite romance that I've read so far this year. Like my favorite couple. I am obsessed. And part of the reason why I love this book so much is articulated so well in Julie Soto's author's note at the end. So I thought that I would just read a part of it. She says, I've lived in New York City on and off for 10 years of my life. I studied acting there. I launched my musical there, which like, she wrote a musical? Like, I need to look into that. Like, what? Like, Julie Soto, do we need to be best friends? Besties? Hello? And I just started writing fiction there, and yet it's so incredibly different to set your novel in NYC because it still feels like the city lives in a snow globe on your shelf instead of outside your very window. She goes on to say in another paragraph, there are films and books set in NYC that define so many of us. Setting a story in New York sometimes feels like it has a certain weight to it. Like there's a multiverse thing happening in which Gwen could share a train with Kathleen Kelly on her way to Shop Around the Corner, or Alex could have bumped into Harry and Sally at the Strand. That's how I like to think of it anyway. I hope that when you are next in New York, you will consider supporting live theater or live music performance, and that you'll imagine yourself in the NYC multiverse. It's pretty grand there. And like, I just feel like that perfectly articulates the vibe, the New York City vibe that is in this story. I adore New York City. I truly would love to live there at some point. My ultimate dream would be to live in New York and be in a Broadway show. That's pretty much always been my dream since I was like 12, and that will always be my ultimate dream basically. And so like I could feel New York in this book. I've been there multiple times. I was there this past December, and like there is nothing, in my opinion, there is nothing like New York during the holidays. To me, it just has such a magical and cozy feel, and like I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but like I just feel like she nailed that in this book, because towards the end we are seeing scenes during Thanksgiving and Christmas, and like I just felt that. So number one. Number two, yes, oh my God, Alex and Gwen's romance. First of all, this beautiful drawing of them on the cover is making me think of their first steamy scene when she's playing cello and he is helping her and things get sexy, and like, so love that. Their connection, their chemistry, ultimately their love, like you just feel it. At least I did, and I've also messaged a couple of my bookish friends who have also read this book and they agreed with me. Like, this book just feels so romantic and like, oh my God. Literally anytime they were on page together alone, like I was so giddy and so happy. I don't even feel like I'm coherent at this point. I don't even think that I'm really getting my point across about why I loved this book so much, but like, oh man, I just felt like there's a quote on the back of here by Christina Lauren, 100% pure romance magic. I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's something about this romance, there's something about this book, this story, this couple that just feels a bit magical. It feels next level in terms of the romance genre and what it has to offer. Like, books like this are why I read romance. It's why I love reading romance. So that is gonna be it for this update. I showed you guys my little book haul. I don't think I'm gonna start anything else tonight because it's like 1:30 in the morning. I think I'm gonna maybe watch a movie and go to bed. But I am definitely going to start Wisteria by Adeline Grace tomorrow. Very, very excited to start the third and final book in the Belladonna series. I just love, love, love the vibe of this. It's gothic, it's paranormal, fantastical. There's beautiful and sensual romances within this series. Pretty much everything I love in books is in this series. So very, very excited to finish this out. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys later. Hi. It's only been about a day since my last update, but I feel like we have a lot to discuss because I read the entirety of Wisteria by Adeline Grace. I didn't even want to do a check-in with you guys while I was reading this because, like, oh my God, I was like freaking the fuck out about how amazing this book is and how amazing the romance in this is, that I just like had to devour this book, and that is what I did. And I loved this so much. If you don't know, this is the third and final book in her Belladonna series. I love this so much that I had to pull my copies of Belladonna and Foxglove to give you a full breakdown of how incredible this series is, okay? Because I feel like some of you just don't fully understand. So yeah, let's just get into the series breakdown. First of all, we have Belladonna, which is a book that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. A lot of you have probably read this book. This first book is very popular, and for very good reason. At its core, this series is what I would say a new adult fantasy romance series. There's gothic vibes, there's eerie vibes. We've got, of course, paranormal and fantastical things going on. We have immortal beings, but this also takes place in a world that feels like our own. I would say this is like mid-1800s London or England, the UK, somewhere around there. So it also has a historical romance vibe to it. Truly everything that I adore in fiction is in this series. We have Signa and Death. It is their romance. At its core, there's also a murder mystery happening. Signa comes to live with her relatives in Thorn Manor, which has a gothic feel to it for sure. And then her cousin Blythe is dying and she doesn't know what from. And Signa's trying to figure out what's going on with all of that. So this absolutely is a fantastic fantasy romance. It is inspired by, is it Death and the Maiden? Which is like folklore, a fairy tale of some kind. But yeah, that's the gist of Belladonna. I read this last year, absolutely loved it. This ended up being in my favorite books of 2023. I think this ended up being an honorable mention. I truly love it as much as like all of my friends do. So then we get to Foxglove, book 2. This is where I feel a lot of readers basically gave up on this series. I feel like a lot of people that I follow, some of my bookish friends even, read this and were very disappointed because you can tell that this is definitely a bridge book between Death and Signa's story in Belladonna, and then Wisteria, where we focus on Aris and Blythe's story and their romance. And I think a lot of readers were disappointed that we were pulling away from such an iconic couple like Signa and Death. So I get that. I totally understand that. However, I personally still really enjoyed this book. What's really cool is that we get the character of Aris, aka Fate, in the mix. And he is convinced that Signa is the reincarnation of his wife, who was Life. And so a lot of this book is him trying to put a wrench in Death and Signa's relationship, while Blythe becomes more of a main character in this one as well. And like I said, I did really enjoy this one. The ending of this one made me so excited for Wisteria, and you're just gonna have to read this series to get what I mean, because I don't want to spoil anything. So then let us get to Wisteria, my personal favorite of the series now. So like I said, this is centering on Aris, aka Fate, and Blythe's romance and story. And when I tell you, this truly gave me everything I could want from a hate to love fantasy romance. I am not exaggerating when I say that, besties. Oh my God, this was everything. The whole first half, I was literally like giggling and kicking my feet because of like the banter between these two. And then when they start falling for each other, like it was just so addictive to read. I read the first 60% of this book in just a few hours yesterday, and then I finished this book today. And like, this romance, this story becomes so much more than what it is in the beginning, you know, when they're bickering and bantering and stuff, and like it just becomes so stunning and beautiful and magical and eerie and a little bit creepy, and like truly everything you could want also from like a gothic romance. Definitely has that feel, just like the other books in this series. And oh my God, by the end, like, I am not gonna lie to you guys, the last 30 pages of this book or so were really rough for me to read. I was getting very emotional. It made me very sad. But by the very end, it all makes sense and it comes to a beautiful and stunning conclusion. And like, I am just blown away. I am blown away by this story. I love these characters so much. I love what Adeline Grace has created in this trilogy. Wow, I am absolutely obsessed. I feel like I could go on and on about this book forever. And what is also just absolutely insane, by the way, I of course gave this 5 stars. What's also absolutely insane is that I have read what I feel are 3 of my absolute favorite books of 2024 in the span of this vlog. Like, how did that happen? Oh my God. And these are 3 books that have very different vibes and feelings from another. Now that I've given you guys a breakdown of the Belladonna series, I hope that you will be enticed to pick it up if you haven't yet. And if you are someone that maybe gave up after Foxglove, I hope that you'll be willing to pick up Wisteria anyway, because I truly am just so obsessed with Blythe and Aris's story. But yeah, tomorrow I think I'm gonna pick up A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This book has been on my shelves for like a year at this point, something like that. I feel like this is gonna give me some really cool gothic romancy vibes, though I know that this isn't a romance, but this is just the mood that I'm in right now, and it's pretty short. I think the audiobook is only like 5 hours, so I think I'll fly through this tomorrow. But yeah, with that being said, I'll talk to you guys later. Happy Monday, happy Labor Day, everybody. It is the next day yet again, because I'm in the middle of 3 books, as you saw from my B-roll clips. I just felt like reading 3 books at the same time today, and I have to say I'm having a very good time reading these books. I am just vibing. So let's get into my thoughts. So the first book I started today was A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This I would categorize as like gothic vampire fiction, definitely an adult novel. I would almost categorize this as like maybe gothic horror, because there are aspects of this, especially given that we're dealing with vampires. Like, I feel unsettled. Definitely feeling a bit unsettled reading this, but basically this is from the perspective of our main character, Constanza, who was the first bride of Dracula. So this book is basically letters that she has written to Dracula. And I think at the very beginning of the book, she says, "This is my last love letter to you, though some would call it a confession." That's also on like the inside cover here. And we see at the beginning, I think it's also inscribed on the naked hardback, "I never dreamed it would end like this, my lord. Your blood splashing hot flecks onto my nightgown and pouring in rivulets onto our bedchamber floor. But creatures like us live a long time. There is no horror left in this world that can surprise me. Eventually, even your death becomes its own sort of inevitability." So we find out like right at the beginning that she must have killed him. And this book, these letters, are her reason why. And so we're essentially getting the full story of their relationship, how Dracula found her when she was dying and turned her into a vampire, and she became his first bride. And things are going on from there. Where I left off, I'm on page 113. I think that's about like 40% into this. But we are seeing that he is slowly but surely going to collect more and more brides, and this relationship between Constanza and Dracula is definitely at best toxic, but definitely like he's very controlling and manipulative of her, and I'm sure at some point it's going to get all out abusive. And S.T. Gibson does make a point of listing some content warnings. She says, you know, emotional, verbal, and physical intimate partner abuse, gaslighting. First things first, I love the writing style. I love that this is told as if these are letters to Dracula, so it's written in second person. And I feel like when books are in second person, that just really immerses you into the story, because you feel like you're one of the characters. You feel like you're involved in the story. And that's why, one of the reasons why I've really enjoyed You by Caroline Kepnes is because that was told in second person. Like, that really made me invested in that story. And so kind of the same idea with this. And it's definitely unsettling, but the writing is beautiful. There are so many quotes that I find myself wanting to underline and highlight. I might start annotating this if I feel the need to, just because, yeah, the writing is really good. But this is, at the end of the day, a very unsettling story, definitely leaning towards horror. Then I also started Escorted by Claire Kent. This is a book that I have been meaning to read for a long time at this point. I've had this physical copy for a while, and now that I'm thinking about it, my friend Avery actually gifted this physical copy to me, so thank you so much, Avery. I think she gave this to me maybe around my birthday in December. But this is a book that I've been wanting to read because it's by Claire Kent. Claire Kent has quickly become one of my favorite romance authors. I adore her Kindled series in particular. That is a post-apocalyptic romance series. But this is a standalone, although there is a novella attached to this book, but it's pretty much a standalone, where we have our main character, Lori. She is a romance author, but she is a virgin, and she's never had a serious relationship with a man, and so she wants to get experience before putting herself out there in that way. And so she finds this man, Ander, who is a professional escort, to help her gain experience. So I am a decent part of the way through this, and one of the things that I'm loving is how much Claire Kent has subverted my expectations of what an escort romance should be. So I've read quite a few escort romances at this point. One that definitely sticks out is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. That's actually one of my favorite romance novels of all time. I love, love, love that book. And usually with escort romances, the hero is either like very flirtatious, really charming, or he's just like really kind and really disarming, like really good at making the heroine feel as comfortable as possible. Meanwhile, we have Ander here, who he is nice and he's very, very professional. Like, I would say that's like his number one quality so far, is like how professional and how seriously he takes this job. And he is very thoughtful, very polite towards Lori, but he's definitely guarded as well. You can tell that he's not comfortable being himself when he's doing this job, when he is an escort, because he asks her numerous times, like, is there a fantasy you want to play out? Is there a type of character you want me to play? And I think that he's surprised when Lori says, no, I don't want you to pretend. I just want you to be you. And so because of that, there's definitely quite a bit of awkwardness between Ander and Lori, but that awkwardness also makes this book and this relationship between the two of them just feel all the more real, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the awkwardness. I love how real this book and this story feels. And I'm just really looking forward to learning more about Ander. And I also really like Lori as a main character. I find her to be very relatable. I love that she's kind of awkward too, but they also have really great conversations with each other. And there is like a compatibility that they have with one another. And so, yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing them get to know each other more. I'm looking forward to getting through Ander's walls, because you can tell that he is very guarded. He definitely has a lot of walls up. Finally, last but certainly not least, I flew through the first 33% of Gild by Raven Kennedy. So I was motivated to finally pick up this first book from watching Rachel from Raven Haired Readers, one of her recent vlogs where she read Gild and Glint, which is book 2. And the way that she was talking about the series, I just really wanted to pick it up. There is something about the way that she talks about books that when she raves about a book, like, I immediately need to read it. So this is book 1 of the Plated Prisoner series. This is the story of King Midas, or that's what we're always told. The Golden King with his palace of riches, and me, the girl he turned to gold. Up on the snowy mountains in the 6th kingdom of Aurea, I'm locked away in Highbell Castle, away from the dangers of the world below. King Midas rescued me from the streets. He gave me food, shelter, and his heart. I promised to love him forever. But when war comes to the kingdom, a deal is struck, and I am at the heart of the bargain. Like I said, I'm 33% through this. I'm on page 123. That is chapter 12. And 2 things have struck me about this book so far. First of all, I love Auren or Oren. I'm not quite sure how I want to pronounce her name. The audiobook narrator pronounces it Auren, but it's spelled A-U-R-E-N, so I want to say Oren. But our main character, Oren, I really like her. I, first of all, really enjoy her sense of humor, even though this way of life that she has found herself in is like pretty hopeless and very lonely and isolating. Like, she still sees the bright side of things, and she just has a really great sense of humor. I definitely found myself chuckling a couple of times at some of her quips. And also, like, this book is just so addicting. Oh my God. The fact that I flew through, you know, over 100 pages of this in like a couple of hours should tell you something. I'm really, really liking this. I know that I need to be prepared though, because in this first book in particular, there is quite a lot of on-page essay that our main character goes through from what I have been told about this book and about this series. So I am trying to prepare myself. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this update. I'm just having a good time reading these books, especially Escorted and Gild. Like, I am just addicted to both of these books right now. Okay, hey guys, it is definitely time to wrap up this vlog, give you guys my final thoughts on these books. I have finished 2 of them and made progress on another one. So first book I'll talk about is Escorted by Claire Kent. I finished this last night. I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. I mean, it's Claire Kent. In my eyes, she can do no wrong. And I just love how she subverted my expectations of what an escort or a sex worker romance should be. I just loved how awkward and real and ultimately beautiful this story ended up being, and Ander and Lori just felt like real people falling in love, and there was so much angst going on between the two of them given how their relationship starts out, and it was just all so well done, just beautifully written. I can't recommend this highly enough. I could probably go on and on about this for hours if you let me. Just such a unique story, and just, yeah, so good. There is a novella called Breaking that is a follow-up to this. I think it's kind of like an extended epilogue. It's like 100 pages, and I'm curious to see if that's going to be in the hero's POV or like what exactly that's going to be. So I'm going to read that soon, but this was fantastic. Then I just finished a little while ago Gild by Raven Kennedy, book 1 in the Plated Prisoner series. I'm gonna go ahead and give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think this was a great start to this series. There are some wild things going on in this book. The way this book starts and the way this book ends, like, my goodness. So much happening in a book that's only about like 380 pages, and yeah, I'm just excited to continue on. I still really love Auren, our main character. I just love her personality, her sense of humor. She seems like someone I could be best friends with, you know. I just really like her, and there's some interesting things that we're discovering about her. And towards the very end of this book, we learn some really interesting things, like world building wise. And I also wanted to point out, I don't think I showed this in my last clip, but in this edition that I have from Bloom, there is an illustration here of, I guess this is the castle that the book starts out in, King Midas's castle. And then on the next page here, we have a map of Aurea and the different kingdoms. And yeah, so I thought that was a really cool thing that they included in this book, and very interested to see how and when a romance kicks in, because there was absolutely none of that in this first book. I don't think we've met her love interest yet. There is someone towards the very end that we meet, but I'm like, is he the love interest or somebody else that we're gonna meet in book 2, the love interest? I don't know. The last book I have an update about is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I have read a little bit more since my last update. I haven't been reading this book much in the last few days though, just because I've just been really busy with work and rehearsals, so I've only had time to just kind of chip away at these 2 books. But tonight I read, let's see, probably about like 30 pages of this. I'm on page 155, that's a little past the halfway mark at this point, and I'm just really enjoying this dark and sensual and seductive gothic story. It's really interesting, really intriguing. I'm really looking forward to seeing how exactly this book is going to end. So yeah, that is gonna be it for my thoughts on these books. That's gonna be it for this vlog. I'm really excited about how this vlog came out. I feel like I read so many really great books in the last couple of weeks. Definitely some new all-time favorites for sure. And I'm so glad that I documented my reading experience with you guys. I really had a fun time filming this vlog. I am planning on filming some sit-down videos soon. I know that recently I've just been doing reading vlogs, and I know that not everybody loves vlogs, so my views have been kind of down lately because of that, and that's fine. It is what it is. Everybody has their preference, their, you know, own taste when it comes to the type of videos that they watch. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I would love it if you would leave a comment if you want to discuss any of the books that I brought up in this video. If you want to tell me about books that you have been reading and loving lately, specifically if you've got some fall recommendations for me, I would love for you guys to leave those down in the comments below, either for myself or for other people watching this video. And with all of that being said, I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!